Thank you very much to the members of the South Rivers Methodist School. You may have your seats at this time. And it is my privilege to invite at this time to bring the opening remarks Sister Cecilia Williams, President of GECCU. Give a hand of appreciation as she comes. Sister Williams.
Her Excellency, Mrs. Dawn Smith, Governor General, Dr. Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mrs. Tashika Haynes Bob, National Coordination of the United Nations DP General Small Grants Program. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, other invited guests. Sorry. On behalf of the Board of Directors, management, staff, and members of the General Employees Cooperative Credit Union Limited, it is with great joy that I stand before you on this grand opening ceremony of GECCU's River-14 Recreational Park here in South Rivers. Today, we at GECCU are very proud to deliver to South Rivers, North Central Windward, and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines this elegant recreational space for your enjoyment and relaxation. It was the vision of GECCU to transform this area to a people-friendly environment. With this in mind, we purchased 1.5 acres of land several years ago, and later ran with the determination of developing the plot. To date, we have invested over 1.3 million EC dollars in this project, with the United Nations Global Environmental Facility Small Grant Program providing EC $405,000 or US $150,000. With financial assistance from the United Nations Global Environmental Fund and local partners, we have completed this magnificent project for the enjoyment of all our people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today, we have witnessed what cooperation and collaboration have accomplished. Many thanks to all the stakeholders who were responsible for the transformation of this stretch of land, especially Brother Fillmore Isaac, who spearheaded the effort. I am sure you will agree with me that the ambience at GECCU River-14 Recreational Park is nothing but relaxing. Here you will experience for yourself nature at its best, as you hear the river flowing in the background, coupled with the chirping of the birds in the trees, while you enjoy South Rivers boil up from the pot. I assure you that it will be a memorable experience. In closing, I wish to make one special request. I ask every one of you to take care of this park. You are now stakeholders in this expanse of land. Please do your best to preserve the beauty of River-14 Recreational Park so that generations to come can enjoy what the park has to offer. I therefore encourage the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and visitors alike to visit GECCU's River-14 Recreational Park. Thank Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and may God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Madam President. At this time, we take the opportunity to also invite our Brother Rohan Stowe, CEO of GECCU, to make some remarks as well. Brother Stowe.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Pleasant good afternoon to each and everyone. I would adapt the protocols that were established before, but I just want to say a special welcome and good afternoon to the Prime Minister. I know his desk must be really full with a lot of different issues, globally, regionally, and even locally that he has to deal with, but I must say, from the time we contacted his office, I think the response was almost instantaneous, that he's going to be available and willing to participate. So thank you, Prime Minister. And you know, if the Prime Minister shows up, it's a big deal. So this is a big deal event today. I'm really happy to be part of this ceremony for a number of reasons. I first want to say categorically that credit unionism and the movement is alive and well in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There is no identity crisis. I don't know if you're aware, but there is a debate among certain academics, professionals, mainly outside of the movement and even within, where they argue that credit unions are moving away more and more from their core principles, and business models are becoming more and more similar to that of traditional financial institutions such as banks. Of course, that is true to some respect, because changes in our legal framework, in the environment in which we operate, our changing members' needs, as well as technological advances, have contributed to this perception. Yes, if you come in to open an account, do a loan, whether it's at a credit union or bank, you have basically the same requirements that you have to go through to do that. Even the loan products, credit unions tend to offer some of the similar products that the banks do, both in terms of rate and different terms. But I think that is where the comparison, if you want to say that, stops. Because since I've been part of the sector, I can say that the credit union industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to fulfill the core underlying principles that give rise to the movement, with the main goal of people pooling resources to help each other through the provision of a range of financial and social services, as well as encouraging active volunteerism. I must also say that with respect to GECCU, over the last, 57 years of our existence, we have remained grounded in those values and principles that guide the movement. But I would also venture to say we have forged a distinct path and carved out our own true identity in two main respects. We have established an excellent track record as an institution that develops and implements bold ideas to the benefit of our members and the economy as a whole. I would say at GECCU, we dream and think big. This especially relates to the impact we have had on financial inclusion to those of modest means and the general marginalized citizen who would not have otherwise had access to banking service had it not been for credit unions like GECCU. And this is evident by the investment we've made in a very expansive network of sub-offices, touching almost every nook and cranny, as they would say, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And Mr. Bowman, you have been around a while. I would dare to say our network might be the biggest in the OECS for all the credit unions. So that's a very great accomplishment, and it shows that GECCU is really committed to those fundamental principles. The second aspect in which I would say credit unions, and GECCU in particular, distinguish itself is that we have an excellent reputation for working towards a sustainable development of communities, educating and training of our members through various policies and initiatives. This project in particular provide you evidence that GECCU is not suffering from an identity crisis. It is consistent with one of our core strategic goals in our strategic plan for 2021-2025, which speaks to the strengthening of our community engagement through investment that preserves our cultural identity and enhance the capacity of communities to generate wealth and pursue healthy, sustainable livelihoods. So this project is consistent with everything that GECCU is about. In fact, these type of social, economic, and community investment are a critical pillar of GECCU's strategic DNA and provide the vehicle through which we are bringing to life some of the fundamental principles of the credit union, which distinguishes us from other traditional financial institutions. Our commitment to our members' holistic well-being and community development was tested in the most viral and practical way over the past 2 years or so. We had to deal with the double whammy of the COVID pandemic and the eruption of La Soufrière. These shocks touch every aspect of our life, as they cause tremendous economic, social, psychological, and emotional disturbances. Indeed, it was one of the most challenging and consequential times in the history of our country. And I don't know if the Prime Minister will agree with that, but in my lifetime, and I'm 40 plus years old, I won't give you the exact figure, we have not gone through anything so challenging in my lifetime. I know we had some major world events, 9/11, and so, but those were just more or less, and it really touched the economic aspect of the economy. This one touched every aspect of our country. So it's I think, testimony to our resilience that, based on all the predictions, that we're still here. And I think from an institutional standpoint, we have weathered the storm fairly well. We have some way to go still, but we are pushing ahead. So GECCU stepped up when it mattered most during this period through a number of targeted initiatives and programs designed to ease our members' financial stress and attend to their social needs. In particular, we have spent over $200,000 since the pandemic and the eruption to assist our members and even some non-members since dealing with the fallout from the eruption of La Soufrière. Support range from monetary donations, provision of essential supplies, housing support in the immediate aftermath of the eruption, to major housing repairs and purchase of household equipment during the recovery phase. I understand that we are still processing a lot of application for home repairs and so I'm sure that figure is going to rise over time. We took the lead in developing a special package for our nurses in collaboration with other credit unions and Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to show our appreciation for their commitment to service during the pandemic. In addition, we also offered them a special loan product on better, more favorable terms than you'll get any consumer loan to help them stabilize and strengthen their financial health. There are also a host of initiatives that we have undertaken to ease our members' financial burden as we unwind from the very popular and important moratorium program. And this program was sanctioned by the FSA as a way for us to deal with some of the issues that would have impacted our balance sheet and income statement. It's a very valuable program. We have benefited from it tremendously and continue to. I know it is scheduled to end based on the last communication from the FSA in March. I wish that, it would be extended given for the persons who remain on the program, a lot of them are still unemployed. And if we don't give them the opportunity to maybe benefit more from the economy as it opens up, we are going to force them into becoming delinquent loan payers. And I don't think that's not what they want, but their circumstances just do not permit them servicing their loans. So I hope it could be extended for another 3 or 6 months, and I think we'll be in a good stead at the end of that. I won't say a lot about the historical details of the project. We have a brochure that gives you some of that. Madam President would have spoken to some of that. And Mr. Bowman, you're coming up. You would have a chance to give them all that background. After all, it was under your stewardship that this project was conceived and implemented. And so you know all the details about the project goals, how you negotiated and coordinated with UNDP. So that would be coming from you, I suppose. I want to focus more on the plans for going forward, dealing with the project, for ensuring the project remains a sustainable one. When I joined the institution in October of 2020, the project was about, I would say, 90% completed. The finishing works took a little bit longer than was anticipated due to the impact of COVID and some other man-made problems. However, we have resolved those issues, or we resolved them successfully, and we're here today officially commissioning the facility. So we are now in the post-implementation phase. where the focus is really on implementing a sound operational framework that would support the sustainability of the objectives into the future, and that would make the project over time self-financing or self-sustaining. Ultimately, achieving those goals and the sustainability of the project and having a wider impact on the communities around it, I think there are two critical things that we have to focus on. First, we have to forge a good link or linkages with the communities that are within proximity. After all, the communities of South Rivers, maybe Connery, and other close communities stand to benefit tremendously from this project in a direct way. Having said that, the preservation of the property and the facility will depend to a large extent on your cooperation. I understand so far it has been excellent, and there is no reason now why that should change. So we encourage you to take care of the facility and ensure that it's not vandalized or misused, if the case might be. We are indeed working to put in that operational framework in place. We already advertised for a few jobs, and I hope persons from the community would have applied for those jobs, and that is a direct way in which you're going to benefit. There are about 3 or 4, 5 other positions that we'll have to advertise as the year progresses. So that is a part of the direct impact. The second area we have to focus on is collaboration with both the government and the private sector to further enhance the range of services that could be provided in the area to increase visitorship and create other business opportunities. For example, we have to work with the tourism authorities to have the project listed as a national ecotourism site. In addition, I think the right public and private sector investment, this site could become the catalyst for what I would call an ecotourism hub. You know, there's a range of activities, associated activities that could go along with a facility like this. Beautiful forests around. I show the diversity of wildlife and all of those things are significant in the area. So things like trails, viewing platforms, zip lines, those sort of things we have to start thinking about in terms of complementing this project. I will close by saying today we are celebrating the opening of a beautiful recreational facility, but we are also celebrating our ability to think big, to have big ideas, to transform those ideas into doable projects, manage and execute to ensure the goals and objectives of the project are efficaciously met. Excuse me. This requires leadership, good networking and negotiation skills, sound governance practices, and a steady financing arrangement. Without a doubt, GECCU, in implementing this project, has demonstrated that we have the capacity to execute these type of impacting projects. I'll leave you with this quote, something that I remember a long time ago. It is by Ralph Emerson. He's an American philosopher. He said, "The mind once stretched by an idea never returned to its original dimension. A mind once stretched by a new idea never returned to its original dimension." I say that to say we're just getting started. There are more big and bold things to come from GECCU, so I encourage you to stay tuned. I would like to say, before I go, we're going to have someone giving the vote of thanks, but I must say, for this event, to the GECCU staff, a big thank you. I remember yes, you have to give them a round of applause. When we were talking about it in management meeting to do the planning, I think I asked Sister Moses, I said, "So you're going to need outside help?" She shut him. She said, "Mr. Stono, we got this. We could handle this." And I haven't had to check in. I get my little updates ever so often when they hit certain milestone, but I think I'm totally impressed that internally we organize, and I think so far it has been a good event. So without holding up the proceedings any longer, I'd just like to wish everyone an enjoyable afternoon. And as we say at GECCU, put members first, and we're upgrading to serve them better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Stowe, CEO of GECCU. As we continue in our program, it is my privilege to invite Sister Takesha Haynes Barber, National Coordinator, GEF Small Grants Program, at this time. Could we welcome as she comes, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me to accept the protocol that has been established and to make a correction on my name. It's Tashika, not Takisha. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of the Jeff Small Grants, the UNDP Jeff Small Grants. Since 1992, the Global Environment Facilities Jeff Small Grants Program, implemented by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, has been supporting civil society organizations and community-based organizations around the world to take action and to address global environment and sustainable development challenges. Since our inception, we have had over 25,000 projects on global environmental issues. We have had over $685 million in project funding and have assisted over 19,000 civil society organizations. SGP is really about innovation. We are an incubator of innovative solutions to safeguard the global environment. We're about social inclusion, where we invest in social inclusion to maximize global environmental benefits and to empower the most vulnerable societies and the marginalized populations. Not forgetting our indigenous peoples, women, youth, and persons with disabilities. We are really focused on impact. So SGP is a strategic and evidence-based platform for community-based actions that can be scaled up. And today we are seeing some of those actions present in this particular project. We look at sustainable projects and we look at creating synergies with other initiatives for greater impact. Geographically, we cover over 127 active countries, including 37 SIDS. As part of our strategic initiatives for 2020 to 2024, we're looking primarily at community-based conservation of threatened ecosystems and species. And this particular project also touches some of these strategic areas, and that is important for us. Because these initiatives aim to improve conservation and sustainable use of threatened ecosystems and species in priority landscapes, including the management of protected areas, corridors, river basins, etc. And we would have accomplished that in this project, where we would have educated the farmers about more ecologically friendly farming, and we would have also done some river stabilization at the northern end of the site. We look at low carbon energy access co-benefits, and so this is in line with larger frameworks such as the Sustainable Development Goals and the National Determined Contributions. The objective of this initiative is to demonstrate and scale up viable low carbon technologies, including renewable energies, energy efficient technologies, and approaches that improve community energy access by working with the private sector and the government. We also look at catalyzing sustainable urban solutions in partnership with the private sector and government. And we also look at global coalitions for chemicals and waste management. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the GEF program commenced in 2014. And since its inception, it has provided funding to the tune of US $2,146,117. And we have made this direct funding accessible to CBOs, CSOs, and NGOs on the mainland and in the Grenadine islands of Bequia, Canouan, Mairo, and Union thus far. We've had 39 projects, and we have had these 39 projects look at the different focus areas of our program. We've had 14 projects that deal with climate change, 9 projects that deal with land degradation, 9 that deal with biodiversity conservation, including this project implemented by GECCU. And we've had 4 projects in capacity development, 2 projects in chemicals, 1 in international waters, and we have another project that we're doing under the IWECO, which is in Sandy Bay, where we are doing a traditional trail, and we'll be opening that particular project in the near future, hopefully in the next month or two. Our office is located at the UE campus in Kingstown at the campus site. So if you would want any further information about the work of our program, feel free to drop in and see what we can do for your community. So I'm talking about this project now. I remember my first walkthrough with Brother Fillmore Isaacs a few years ago, and we decided to start this project. And it really warms my heart to see where we're at today. From that first meeting where, he told me the vision for this site. Take a bow, Mr. Isaac. I know it was a lot. I know we required a lot in terms of reporting. But you never cease to meet the challenge, and we're grateful for that. So River-14 in its natural state is a paradise, as you can see. And so when GECCU acquired this parcel of land, and they had the vision that they wanted to give back to the Vincentian community an enhanced environment, then they subsequently applied to us for grant funding, and that's how the collaboration was formalized. And we have no regret partnering with GECCU, and we are hoping that it's just the beginning of more projects and much more development to come. So the main project components were the physical infrastructure, namely the riverbank revetment and construction of buildings with toilets and other amenities. Because if we're going to offer tours and we're going to offer recreation, we have to have an enhanced environment so that persons could enjoy the space comfortably. We looked at the human resource development. So as I said before, the farmers and other persons in the community, they were trained in sustainable agricultural land management, small business management, food hygiene, and food preparation. Because as Brother Stowe said, there's other plans in the pipeline for future development of the site, and so we were proactive in doing these things ahead of time. We looked at the public awareness and knowledge sharing. So this facility, although privately owned, would be open for the public, and the public was kept informed of all the different project cycles and everything that was going on through community consultations, newspaper articles, television presentations by the API, and also by way of publication of flyers and brochures. So overall, the main aim was just to preserve the naturalness of the area as much as possible, while offering some basic facilities which enhance the environment and add some civilized comforts. The strength of this project as it relates to our program, however, is its conservation in biodiversity, its active role in combating the effects of climate change, because we know that this river can be very ferocious, and so by doing the river stabilization, that helps to cut down the flow of water that would go down to the village. And so we were really happy that the trees were kept and that we could have reused the huge boulders that were removed from the river. And we also have the river, which is habitat to a lot of our aquatic life. And we're really happy that our mullets and crayfish, river lobsters, crabs, etc., have that enhanced environment now. They may be splashing around a little more happily. So we're happy for that. And we're also happy that we're looking at conserving and preserving our hinterland wildlife, like the tattoo, the armadillo, iguana, manikou, opossum, etc., and not excluding the bird species, especially the Amazonia gildingi that can be seen in the late afternoons. So it's a great example for development, taking into consideration environmental conservation, and so I want to give GECCU a big round of applause for that. So the SGP is very pleased with the final product of this project. We extend congratulations to GECCU. You've done an excellent job. You've set the standard for other groups, and it is our hope that the community and the visitors to the site will enjoy the facility for many years to come, and that they'll take care of it, they'll take ownership of it, and they will help to conserve the beauty that you see today, and that it will be a lasting one. I'm asking persons, visitors, please adhere to the park rules and just leave happy memories. Don't leave any garbage, don't leave anything negative, just leave happy memories. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Haynes. As we continue along our program, I would like to take the opportunity to invite Brother Lennox Bowman, former CEO of GECCU, to bring some remarks at this time.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, Mrs. Dawn Smith, Dr. the Honorable Ralphie Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and representative of North Central Windward. I must remember that. Yes. Brother Ransto, CEO, Sister Cecilia Williams, President, and Sister Toshika Haynes Bob. Other invited guests. You know, I could have easily come here today and adopt the attitude that this project is simply just another good initiative by GECCU. Because I think we have come to expect good initiatives and good projects from GECCU. But this is no ordinary project. I was going to use the exact words that the CEO used. This is a big deal. This is a big deal project, not just for GECCU and its members, but for the credit union movement in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and indeed worldwide, because this is what we exist for. On July the 14th, 2022, GECCU will be celebrating 58 years of excellent service to this country. With about 300 million in assets, 46,000 members, almost 60 staff operating from 6 locations, with an incomparable group of volunteers and pioneers, we have and continue to impact the socio-economic development of this country in an extremely significant way. We constitute about 50% of the cooperative movement, a cooperative movement in St. Vincent which ranks in the top 3 in the world in terms of credit union penetration. To achieve what GECCU and the movement in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have, we must be doing great things, and as a consequence, we have been and continue to live the cooperative philosophy. What we are witnessing today and our achievements over the 58 years exemplifies the cooperative philosophy in motion. Bear with me as I lay a little context to this. The cooperative philosophy is good business. And that is the cooperative movement, is indeed a foundation of service. Now, in 2009, I think it was around December the 18th, the United Nations General Assembly declared 2012 as International Year of Cooperatives, thereby highlighting the contributions of cooperatives to social economic development, particularly the impact on poverty reduction, employment generation, and social integration. One of the objectives of this year was to encourage mergers and acquisitions within the sector in an effort to provide a better quality of service, as well as greater access to these services by credit union movements. Around that same time, GECCU was already in the process of wooing sister credit unions whom we thought would provide a better service to their members if they merged with GECCU. Needless to say, this was a challenge, as we never had a credit union merger or acquisition in St. Vincent before. It took us about 3 years to get such an agreement with South Rivers. We had group meetings, we had committee meetings, meetings with the respective boards, meetings with regulators, one-on-one meetings. It was real field work, I tell you. But it had to be done. And I want to recognize the president at the time of that merger. I see Gary Matthias here, who was very instrumental in this merger as well. But the president, Sister Andrea Macmillan, was instrumental, and she decided she's going to do everything to get this thing to work. Also, Rachel Mrs. Mackenzie. On October the 1st, 2012, we acquired South Rivers Cooperative Credit Union. That was the first of 3 acquisitions. Later, on December the 31st, 2013, we further acquired the ULP Credit Union and the Mount Coke Methodist Circuit Cooperative Credit Union, women. When we acquired South Rivers, we sat, it was long meetings, long negotiations. We made 3 promises to them. 1, we will treat every member coming over from South Rivers as though they were at GECCU the time they joined South Rivers. They got all the benefits. The second promise we made to them is that we would look into the possibility of building an office here, because we had this space which is formerly occupied. Those 2 promises were kept. Today, the third promise was that we will do something special for the area. Brother Fillmore said he was a part of that. And today, we are keeping our promises. We are keeping our promises. GECCU has an excellent track record of community engagement, and many of our staff and volunteers spend much of our time in various communities, advocating through various activities, whether sporting, cultural, or just liming. A lot of liming was done here. This 1.5 acres here, I believe, consumes some of the most beverages. You know? And maybe most goat too. Right? We at GECCU pride ourselves on member education and community engagement. The CEO said it. This is what we are about. We are a people organization, people helping people. Now coming to the project. There is a young man who sat on our board, whom I am always excited to engage, and whom I have and continue to learn so much from in terms of the consolidation of my cooperative principles. This community-spirited young man goes by the name of Fillmore Isaacs. And I spent a lot of time trying to make good. He and I spent a lot of time trying to make good on this third promise to the South Rivers community. When we decided to have a go at this location, he volunteered to go back and have a final chat with the owner, then Mrs. Dawn Smith, now Your Excellency Dawn Smith. And we are very pleased and very excited to have her with us today. After his meeting with Mrs. Smith, Brother Fillmore Isaacs entered my office the following afternoon with a smile and an excitement that I would never forget. He was there to give me the good news that Mrs. Smith and her family were willing to sell the land to GECCU. The sale, however, would only be effected if we pledged to keep our promise which we made to her to construct a recreational park or a similar facility here. We took it to the board. I think Brother Kelvin Pompey was the president at the time. The board was excited and granted approval to purchase this 1.5 acres of very historic land. This obviously we did with great speed. A few years later, we were able to convince the board again to agree to setting up a committee to look into a possible design for the recreational park here for the benefit of not just South Rivers and the surroundings, Park Hill, Connery, Byron, and so on, but for all Vincentians. At that time, we were looking at 3 phases. The park. Second thing we were looking at, we wanted, because of the problems with the river coming down there, we looked into the possibility of doing a bridge over so that the farmers could go and come. It was too expensive, Prime Minister. But I believe from what I'm hearing today, nothing is off the table. If you don't believe, you don't achieve. And we believe. The third thing was agriculture. There was an agri-tourism aspect of this, with farm trails, so that tourists can come, walk through a farm, pick their own produce, go at the end of it, cook it and eat it. And that is the way we were going. All this time, the Prime Minister was kept updated on our plans. And he was extremely happy and supportive of this project. And why not? Because in my experience going around the region, we don't have a Prime Minister that is wedded to the concept of corporatism like this one. And GECCU, the World Council of Credit Unions, has taken the position over and over that credit unions are really a partnership of people and government. We don't pay tax. We don't pay any corporation tax, right? So, we had also started to engage the community in many discussions. We came up here, staff, we did all kinds of surveys, we had meetings. Gary could remember those meetings in the community. The people of South Rivers came out, they gave us our full support. The committee at the time, which was formed, comprised Philmo Isaac, project manager, Gary Matthias, who was the president of GECCU at that time, Harold Lewis was the vice president representing GECCU, and then we had Chanel Thomas from SOPO, Sternell Walker from Park Range and Parks, Baldwin Johnny from GECCU, Gertrude Bascom, Ministry of Agriculture, Barry Williams from the Forestry Department, Joan Ryan, CWSA, Orlando Craig, Ministry of Health, Andrew Lockhart, and Gail Campbell was the youth representative. So this project did not come about without full consultation. At that time, we invited architects to come up with a concept. And after we shared the original brief with them, and after many discussions, we decided to accept the design of Mr. Timothy Douglas. Remember that? At that time, our strategic objectives were to develop the area by establishing the facility, to minimize the risk of environmental degradation as so carefully laid out by Sister Toshika, and we wanted to enhance agricultural practices of the farmers adjacent to the area. And thirdly, to facilitate community socio-economic and development through capacity building. All these things we have achieved in some measure. There's still more work to do. So now we were at the design phase. How can we get this done? The committee went to work. Brother Philmo Isaac suggested that we approach Jeff, Global Enterprise Fund. We approached them. When we approached them first, we approached them for $50,000 US. They turned it down, you know. But you know why they turn it down? Money too small. That woman, Toshika Haynes Bob, sat with us and showed us why we need to redo this project and look for, I think it was called a strategic grant of $150,000 US. We didn't realize it wasn't going to be enough, but, but it went a long way, right? Being aware of the socio-economic potential of the development of the area and the synergy that can be obtained from the cooperative effort, GECCU engaged other partners for this project. The South Rivers community, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries and Rural Development, Tourism, Health and the Environment, Housing and Human Settlement, the National Utilities of VINLEC and CWSA, National Parks, Rivers and Beaches, and the United Nations Global Environment Fund. You see how many people we had to coordinate to get this project right? And you know who was the project manager, right? One guess, Brother Fillmore Isaacs. Our committee worked tirelessly on this project, and we had really good support from our partners. Our officers, our staff, they had to add this to the portfolio. Miss Cornelia Moses, our accountant, Mrs. Johnny, the marketing team of Danley, Tiani, and now Asif, our IT people, all these people had to be checking out here all the time because the report requirements of Jeff is rigid, right? But if you don't believe, can't achieve, right? I want to also bring to mind the great work done by Mr. Anthony Bowman to see this project to fruition. Our project manager and Anthony worked very well and made an excellent team. The guidance supported by the board-appointed committee, all those parties worked together to see what we have today. Yes, we had challenges, and there were many differences of opinion along the way, but differences of opinion provided for enhanced decision-making. Our setbacks were many and were mainly due to the occasional flood and the effects of volcanic eruption. The contractor, I think Philip Alexander Wanza, did a great job and must be applauded. So today we can boast that this is a big deal. We can boast because we don't have a bottomless pit of money at GECCU. We can boast that we are the only financial institution in St. Vincent and Grenadines to have undertaken such a social and environmental project for our country. It took a lot of man hours, both paid and volunteered. And by God's grace, it is here. The glory is His. Today, as I end, I feel a spirit of gratitude. I am first of all grateful to the management and the board for the opportunity to be here to bring remarks today. And grateful to have been part of this project. The board and management work tirelessly on these projects, on these kinds of projects. Jeff, Toshiko, I can't thank you enough. But the thank you come at a cost. We're looking forward to the next phase. Eh? Staff. Actually, I thought we were going to have a little thing in the picnic. I was looking forward to having more of them here today, but because we don't plan what we're going to do with this thing here. But anyway, I understand that management is supporting an effort to have a big thing here on Monday for staff. That's what I heard, Rohan. I don't know. That's what I heard. as I heard. Our communities who work tirelessly for this great movement. My gratitude to everybody, and they really protected this area during its construction. This facility is the excellent collaboration of people who place a high value on community development. It comes at a time when we are battling a pandemic and a volcanic eruption, and it is my hope that other organizations would follow this lead with similar facilities throughout St. Vincent. To be an achiever, as I always say, you must be a believer. Today at GECCU, we demonstrate once again that we are believers. Our continued contribution to development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines remains constant. No place is the spirit of cooperation better exemplified than in our own cooperative sector. And GECCU is and must remain a leader. We will continue to address the development issues in the country in a very focused manner. We are indeed the credit union philosophy in motion. Our volunteers and staff, again, thank you. With trust in each other, confidence, love, empathy, inclusiveness, and an everlasting gratitude, we are able to produce this magnificent project. Brothers and sisters, today, a great organization, GECCU, and our partners make a great facility available to the people of our beloved St. Vincent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Bowman, former CEO of GECCU. I take this opportunity at this time to acknowledge the presence of Minister Stevenson. Welcome. It's good to have you with us once more. And without any further ado, I would invite the members of the South Rivers Methodist School as they would entertain us with a cultural presentation. I think they deserve a little better hand than that. Can we give them a hand of appreciation? It is always good to encourage our children in particular when they're doing things, because it takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of courage to come and stand before a crowd and cameras and so on. And they've done well. Well done, well done, well done. It's good to see that the steel pan is alive and well in the next generation of our young people. At this time, it is my privilege and pleasure to invite Dr. the Honorable Ralph P. Gonsalve, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to bring our feature address. So let's welcome him as he comes. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, the Governor General's Deputy, Mrs. Dawn Smith, the Humble African, Minister of Cooperatives, the leadership of the credit union movement in GECCU and others, our dear friend from the Global Environmental Fund, and other specially invited guests, the people of the South Rivers community, the students, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are witnessing our civilization at its best. There are physical things which constitute an essential part of our Caribbean civilization and its Vincentian component. The hills are joyful together. The verdant green, the trees, the farms, not even 21 volcanic eruptions of La Soufrière last April could stop us less than a year later to do this. The river, which is vital to this community and all the villages, all the communities through which this river flows. Before, we had pipe-borne water in every single home. The river and a spring nearby used to be the source of the water. Water used to be very clean then. Before bananas, and with a lot of spraying. But human beings have to come to terms with nature in order for life and living and production to go on. And we have to do so sustainably. The river was the place before washing machine that you used to go, as we say, sap your clothes. The river provides food. I see somebody who not from the area really wrote up the part about the river. Because in addition to those things known as mullet and crayfish and river lobster and crab, and when you come and fishing for crayfish and river lobster, you have to be careful that you ain't go too close to the bank where they crab them, you find them because the gundi could bust your finger. Know it well. But you ain't mention macaque, and you ain't mention suckstone and sandfish. Yeah, my brethren. Eh? And river eel, which is to be distinguished from those by the sea. We on the windward side don't eat those eel which come from the sea. We eat those from the river. So this is a source of food. It is also a place which we used to help our environment, to drain things, like for instance BT, when we used to have our route, when we used to grind our route, by Daddy Dandrad, over Park Hill, our Central, or the one by Connery Estate. Whether it was by the if it was by the Couriers before, or Alban de Santos, or Balcom. And there was no problem in bathing in the BT because we know that it wasn't poisonous. The only time we had a problem with the BT is when in 1960 we brought some Germans and built Central Ironwood Factory, and they didn't know how to calibrate it properly for the arrowroot, where the rhizome is wrong and long. They didn't figure it out, so for a little while, a lot of the arrowroot wash away. So when you think it's BT coming down, it's plenty of the arrowroot itself until they had to get a local man who never went to university to fix it. As a river. And then, as you point out, it is the source for electricity, the oldest electricity plant. It's now very modern. The efficiency has been increased tremendously under Townley. But from the early 1950s, we had an electricity company. Not many people had electricity in the area because it was a very small plant. And let me just say, by the way, because of my appreciation for the river and its role in our communities, our civilization, when Vinlec wanted to bring another hydro plant on the river, lower down, I asked them, what is going to happen to the water? And for people who want to go and do river cook, and to catch crayfish and lobster, and macaque and suckstone. As he explained that to me, do we not have a better alternative? Like, for instance, solar. So when they gave great reflection, because even nowadays, you know, when people washing clothes, even though they have a washing machine, or even though they have a sink, we don't call them sink out there, we call them zinc. So if you hear somebody say they have a zinc, you want to find out if it's a chemical product? No. It's what you call, what you in tongue call zinc. We call it zinc. Yes, we spell it, we pronounce it different. You see why you have to come from the bowels of the people? And know everything and understand it well. And understand that as well as the United Nations. Because people, women will still like to go and sap the clothes by the river. And of course, when you reach Connery, there's treachery at the mouth of the river. And Connery treachery is the best treachery in the world. There is no treachery better than the treachery which comes from Connery River. You can laugh if you want. I'm a treachery man, I know it well. Yeah, treachery. Yes, love treachery cake. Plenty. Now, so what we have here is this fantastic locale. But it is in a community which is a very special community in this country. The special community because it's this community which sustained the person who has become the longest serving Prime Minister. Not just, they tell me in the world except one, but the other one who is ahead of me, I understand is the Prime Minister from Cambodia, but they often know the result of the election before they are held, so. And this community sustained me. And they invested in me. So you see why, from the moment you call to when you get the answer was yes, I'm coming to 14. Everything else would have had to take second place today at this time. I know with my bread butter, you know. I ain't dotation. This community has produced persons of real skill in all fields. In academic work, in technical work, in athletics, in cricket. Gary was the fastest man in St. Vincent and Grenadines in the 100 meters. A lot of people don't remember that, you know. A very good cricketer too. And we have a Cameron Coffey learn his cricket down here. And Dighton Butler. Dighton is in charge. a big plus in South Rivers is that it is a Christian community with good leaders in the Christian community in South Rivers. We have Bishop Lucas up in Hogwole with the Spiritual Baptist Church. We have the Old Methodist Church. The Anglicans and the Catholic didn't build any up here. If you want a Catholic church, you have to go Canary. Bellevue as it was at School Hill, and then down Canary, and back up a little bit in Bellevue. On the land formerly of Victoria Beach. That's where, who we know knows Dawn Smith, that's where she grew up. That's a North Central Windward woman, you know. Don't think because she married Father Smith and she lives where she lives, she's a North Central Windward woman between Canary and Bellevue. And if I may just add, for North Central, at the moment, North Central has the head of state, the representative of the Queen, the Governor General, Susan Ryan Duggan, a Canary woman, you know. And when she goes away, it's another woman from North Central. So we have both the Governor General and the Deputy and the Prime Minister from the same constituency. Hail North Central. And I talk all that without any water in my mouth. No water in my mouth at all. And then, I see Brother Isaac's laughing. Wisdom comes from the folk, you know. We have the Emmanuel Baptist Church with an excellent preacher from South Rivers itself, Brother Willis Akcha. We have the Pentecostal Assembly of the West Indies, where my brother is now resident, and there's a strong evangelical and Pentecostal, and of course before that Spiritual Baptist, and of course you have Methodist, and you have Catholic and Anglican, and then the fastest growing church in the country, the Seventh-day Adventists. They built a beautiful church down there, and the man who is partly responsible for that is the same man who is the project manager here. You see what I'm talking about? And we have a school which we have refurbished properly. We have our challenges, you know. But I'm talking about things which are good and positive. And I want to show you this. The steel band came here, and also the grade 4 came and did the song. The teacher who wrote that song, Roslyn Johnny, is from South Rivers. And the woman who is the principal, you all might not have seen her here, Miss Wilkinson. Surely she brought the children here. I have eyes, you know. Science begins and ends with observation. I wanted to see whether she was coming up here without the children were coming out without her. And I'd ask her why. But she didn't disappoint me. She didn't say, watch. No. Science begins and ends with observation. You see her simple day? She has a master's degree. She actually come from McFarlane in Park Hill. And her great-grandmother, they had a bakery down in Connery. Right by near to where Miss Lawrence them live. You remember? Short, Carib-looking fellas, they used to call them in those days, they used to call them Carafuna or Kalinago. They were always very generous to me. The wife was a tall, elegant, beautiful woman with in them days they used to make what you call the turnover. No, they used to make them with plenty hoshi, plenty coconut hoshi. Like you had more coconut then. So they were very generous. So I'm giving you, I'm talking also, I'm talking our history, I'm talking our civilization, I'm talking how we hang together. You see that South River School? Nearly 100%. In fact, if the principal is here, or any of the teachers, they could tell me, if you have the children down there who not on the school feeding program, you can count them on one hand. Because we have developed a very good school feeding program, and it is a cooperative program. You pay 50 cents a day for your lunch, and you get good lunch. Because I go there and I eat. You hear me? All throughout the country. But I'm talking about South Rivers. People come from the government of Antigua, send people here to see our school feeding program. You know how it works? Government put in something. The children, the parents put in 50 cents a day. So the $2.50. But if you don't got money, don't bother, you still get your food. But everybody know they have a responsibility to send 50 cents. And their fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers are farmers. And they bring stuff and give there also to help with the feeding of the children. And the government will send rice and some meat and other supplies and so on. So we do it as a cooperative venture. This is South Rivers. And you open my heart. North Central is written in it. St. Vincent and the Grenadines there. Big. But when you go inside there, you find South Rivers big, big, big inside of it. Now, you see this cooperative principle? It started since during the time of slavery, and immediately after slavery, it grew. The first real form of co-op in financing is a thing called Susuhan. S-O-U-S-O-U, Susuhan. All you know about Susuhan? You still have Susuhan now, you know. Some people in the modern period get influenced by some reggae song and call it Partner. No, it's Susuhan. Partner is in Jamaica. Susuhan is down here. 5, 7, 10 people in a village pool so much you throw the Susuhan every month, every week. There's no interest. Somebody get it. You know the number of people who throw Susuhan and the Susu money, pay the passage for them to go England, and they send back the money, you know. You got in between one or two worthless one. But if they do that, It's shame on the family, you know. And some of them who trust Susuhan and go away and didn't pay back, the shame for come back, you know, is donkey years after them I show their face. Hoping that people forget that they walk away with Susuhan money. Because part of it is the community constraint on particular kinds of shady or dishonest behavior. Very important. Another early form of cooperation was friendly society. They used to call them friendly and benevolent society. It's so many of them started. They were involved with the churches and other people in the communities. Colonialism decided that they had to regulate them. The first piece of legislation, 1859. I don't have to refer to no notes so that, I know the thing out of my head. Because by the way, between 1981 and 2001, I was the legal advisor free for the Spiritual Baptist Church and also for the Spiritual Baptist Friendly Society. And I was the warden of the Spiritual Baptist Friendly Society. That's a law. That's a name called to that officer under the 1859 law. We just changed that law the other day. The Humble African moved the passage of a new Friendly Societies Act. And the reason why I had to give it up, because I'm Prime Minister, I'd be part of a regulatory system, so I couldn't be warden of something which the government would have to regulate. Friendly societies. But you also have farmers' co-ops. It's grounded in social solidarity. The belief that you're an atomized individual. You're individual by yourself. Acts of the Apostles tell you can't be like that. The community of Christians told you can't be like that. So when people now tell you nowadays, my body, my choice, you're a society of one? Eh? You can only say my body, my choice if you are a society of one. But a society of one is an impossibility, and that's why it's an oxymoron. No. Social solidarity, not an atomized individual. To have social solidarity, you have to be a social individual. You have your individualism, but you work in conjunction with other people in the society. That's how it is. The difference is not between an individual and the society, That's a false distinction. The distinction is between a social individual and an atomized individual. Why atomized? If you think that you're just an individual by yourself, you're like an atom in the physicist's laboratory. And who manipulates you? The physicist. And if you're an atomized individual out there, you may not know it, but somebody manipulating you. The only way you can truly prevent and avoid any manipulation is to be a social individual in communion with other social individuals, building solidarity. That is in a nutshell the issue. And then in the area we had farmers' cooperatives. There was a farmers' co-op in Park Hill. You know why the farmers had to have a co-op? And people from South Rivers also had co-ops, farmers co-op there. Not only because they wanted to work together, but 100 planters controlled over 2/3 of the land. And on every estate which grew arrowroot, you had an arrowroot factory. And you, as a farmer who grew arrowroot, you had to wait till the estate don't grind their arrowroot to get chance for them to grind yours. And if they tell you bring it, they leave it in the yard until it's spring. And the quality you get, the amount of starch you get, is less. So people came together. And Daddy Dandrad used to run it at Park Hill. You see the canal? Properly called in English the canal, but we call it canal. Yes, it's there. That's why when Block 2000 chose a place to have their Christmas light up, you see the wheel? The wheel was the water wheel to provide the energy. And that was a beautiful feature which used to win almost every year. And they were so good they should have win every year. But you can't make North Central win everything, so somebody else have to win. You know? That is part of the cooperatives. Working people cooperated in the 1930s after the Depression, the World Capitalist Depression of 1929 to 1931. They formed McIntosh's organization, the Working Man's Association, was not registered as a trade union, you know. It was registered as a co-op. A lot of people don't know that. Though the 1933 Trade Union Act allowed for the registrations of trade union for the first time, it didn't provide for protection against actions in tort against the union. It didn't provide for peaceful picketing. And Captain Cipriani in Trinidad advised McIntosh to register it as not a trade union, a cooperative association, which had people paid dues, they gave debt benefits, and all the rest of it is to lend money. Association Hall is Young Paul's lot, you know. After many years and so on and everything happened, the P.H. Vera family bought it. That's the history of that. But after the 1930s uprising, and then trade unionism came, political parties started to organize. Small business people, people in the communities. So we have friendly societies, we have benevolent associations, we have the Working Man's Association, we have Susuhan. They say the bank you had here, the name of it was Barclays Bank. DCO, you know what DCO mean? Dominion Colonial Overseas. To walk inside of the bank in the 30s, don't mind the 40s and 50s, even into the 60s, you hardly saw any face other than a white face walking in the bank. And when they start to introduce persons who are not completely white, in local terms, a little bit of high brown, and so on and so forth. That happened. Derry Williams, who now manages the largest commercial bank in this country, from Rose Hall. His grandfather couldn't go inside it just to put money inside of a bank. Or great-grandfather. And they say we make progress. Sometimes we allow foolish people on radio. Some people who just too fool to be on radio. And everybody want to be an instant expert on everything, talking, going on social media. They don't know from whence we have come. They don't know where we are. They wait until somebody talks something, they don't even think about it. And they become the echo chamber of somewhere else or somebody else. We even want to lose our distinctive voices. But we don't have to be in anybody's choir. We sing with our own voice and use our language and the cadences and speak to the issues from our perspectives. No. The idea arose to form the St. Vincent Cooperative Bank, which was called the Penny Bank. And then the St. Vincent Building and Loan Association. And then, of course, as we saw in the 50s and certainly in the 60s with the founding of, first of all, GECCU and GECCU, we began to have the growth, the development of the modern credit union movement to the stage where we are now. So the cooperative spirit of solidarity is from then. You hear what I'm telling you? You hear from where it came? Way back in the 19th century. And where we are today. In between, there's an agricultural credit and loan bank. That was founded, I think, 1906. The state was involved in it and some other people. You have GECCU. I want the people in South Rivers to hear. Don't mind they come and tell you how GECCU poor, you know. GECCU got plenty money, you know. You hearing me? GECCU got plenty money. We are very, very grateful. And GECCU, of all the organizations to have done what, of financial institutions, you really got to big them up. This is a fantastic amount of money to spend here. I hope they're hearing. I want to give comparison with assets for GECCU between 2015-2016 year and 2019-2020. Humble African is plenty money, you know. 2015-2016, their assets was $210.4 million. 2019-2020, $314.8 million in assets. Their growth value in that period $104.4 million, or an increase in assets of 50%. That is remarkable, and you must be congratulated. People don't know this. GECCU assets at the moment, the figures here, bigger than the building and loan, more than Co-op Bank, and more than another bank. I ain't going to call the name. I ain't calling the name. But not only that, deposits in that period for GECCU. 2015, 2016, they moved from $176.8 million to $259.2 million. Growth by $82.4 million or 47%. That's very good. You're getting a lot of cash coming in. And you're doing phenomenally well with loans. GECCU in 2015, 2016, their loans were $123.4 million. 2019 to 2020, $167.7 million. An increase by 36% in that period, which is very good. Or by $44.3 million. I think you're doing a splendid job. And I want to congratulate you. And GECCU has moved the same way. And so too the St. Vincent Teachers Cooperative Credit Union. They are doing quite well. And the police too. But the three big ones are GECCU, GECCU, and the Teachers Credit Union. And I'm glad to see the amalgamation and all that taking place. Now, this man you see here, I don't participate in any credit union business, but I'm a member in 3 credit unions. Every month, for years, they take out money out from my account. I'm a member of GECCU. I'm a member of, and I wanted to show solidarity with the public servants and all other persons in GECCU. I do the same thing with the teachers. I'm a member of the Teachers Credit Union. And I'm a member of the Police Welfare Association, Credit Union. I'm a member of all of them. Now, I know there's a rule about membership, but I don't participate in anything, so that's cool. You don't see my face at an AGM. I am borrowing the money from you all, but I put money so other persons who want to borrow, and it is my way of lending solidarity. 3 of them. Not only that, and what I'm about to say, people will know me. I don't talk about what I do in a personal way. But since we talk in credit union, permit me. You remember when you opened at South Rivers, which I was very happy about. By the way, we fixed the road by you, eh? I just want to tell you that. Yeah. You're a good constituent. You're a good corporate citizen in the constituency. So you fix your road there. That day, you remember, I gave a check to sign up everybody in grade 6. You remember that day? And because of COVID and suffering, and because of Hurricane Elsa, People forget we had last year in July the 2nd Hurricane Elsa, you know. I bet you if you go wrong, hardly anybody remember that. Because it hit the Northeast, and when it went there, other than damage to the sea coast, so far they done damage, mash up the place. So they didn't quite have the impact. You remember Elsa? Somewhat, vaguely. Now, I notice, and I ask the teachers, because of suffering, because of COVID, and also the volcano, a lot of children in school are very antsy. It's not easy to be locked up, easy to have pressure for parents, and children pick it up too. I talk to the police them. They tell me the minibus men them a little more antsy than all the other time. People need to respair. R-E-S-P-A-I-R. I want you to remember that word. Everybody is saying build back better and build back stronger, and I agree that. But inside, additional to building back better and stronger, is something existential. I was looking for a word. R-E-S-P-A-I-R. Look it up in your, on your, check it, Google it right there now and you will see. Look for the meaning on your cell phone. You'll see the word has hardly been in use since the 16th century. And I try to find out the reason. Respair means fresh hope. And we must embrace it. Fresh hope after a period of despondency. After a period of extreme challenge. After a period even of despair. We must respair. And part of respairing is that we must work better together with one another in social solidarity. And there are certain things which we can help children with. And one of them, to encourage them in many different ways and to give them a lift from my own pocket. $18,000 and something. I send it for GECCU. For all the students. All the students who passed this, who went from the CPA to secondary school. For them, $50 each. Either to join the credit union, or if they didn't want already, to put it there. For North Windward, North Central, and North Leeward, the three most affected by suffering. And I get the reports from Mr. Stowe. And he tells me that they are almost to the end of doing all of that. But, you know, when you do things, there's a woman overseas saw what I was doing. She said, she sent me. She said, I like what you are doing. She sent me $3,000 US. Say, put it wherever you want to put it. That's just over $8,000. So what I did, I devised another program. Now for those in grade 6, in the same North Windward, North Central, and North Leeward. For North Windward, I gave one person the check so that they will deal with the North Windward. For North Leeward, I gave one person a check, but in North Central, I got the list of all the students and gave each of the principals a check amounting to the number of students they have in grade 6 to join the credit union or to put the money to their school co-op. I just passed by Park Hill School and saw them at grade 6. When I was leaving, one of the students got up to thank me for it. I told them, don't tell South Rivers that I passed by them first, because they go get vexed. But I talked about it and asked them not to get vexed with me. I'll come in maybe next week by their school. And this facility is incredible. And I am so happy that I am part of a credit union which can do such a magnificent job. I know, as Prime Minister, and when I was Minister of Finance, I get letters all the time and representations come to me. Prime Minister, the credit unions should be regulated just like the banks. I say yes, but they're not commercial banks, but they're regulated through FSA, and the educational aspect, those aspects, our co-op division, but the FSA. And the central bank also looks at it, though they're not in charge of your regulation, but will provide advice. They say they're not thinking about that. Because you have to do all the money laundering reportage and all the various things. They say they're competing with us. They're taking deposits. And they're not paying the interest levy. And of course, they're on my case. So far, for a long time, I've been able to hold them off. And I believe that my back broad enough to hold them off longer. No. I offers where they're coming from, you know. But in this thing, you have to look at the totality of matters. And that is why you see I started from solidarity. Daniel Williams, a poet, said in a poem called We Are the Cenotaphs, Vincentian, now dead. He was a lawyer, died in an accident. I don't think you were born yet, Brother Stowe. Splendid poet. He said, we are all time. Only the future is ours to desecrate. The present is the past, and the past, our fathers' mischiefs. The credit union movement in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is an essential bulwark to ensure that we do not desecrate our future. I will use this facility. I know it's not a facility for freeness. You have to pay to upkeep it. You had to pay for the security. You had to pay to help to manage it. And therefore, you have to be respectful of your members' money to make sure that it is not abused in a manner that you have to know, having paid the capital monies, even though you get a $400,000 from the Jeff, the small grants, you fork up about $1 million. So I'm asking everybody to understand that in the solidarity, everybody has to put a little. Everybody has to be a social individual and don't be an atomized and selfish individual. Come and use it free. Mash up the place, leave the garbage. No. Let us have this place properly. This place is a tremendous addition to the product for leisure, for recreation, for ourselves, our regional brothers and sisters, and for our international guests who come as tourists. It is not the only one, but we will have more. And the state is involved in others. Also in North Central, along with other places. But I just want finally to say to you that there is a parcel of land across from your office in Georgetown. I know you want to expand. KCC, you want to expand also. KCC, you want to establish a base there. And we have something which we want to put there too. I believe we have enough land there that we can work together and we can develop a good facility. It was proposed that we put the Georgetown market there, and I said, no, we have that for somewhere else. I intend to purchase the property from Rafi Crichton near to the Caratal River and put the market there and leave that for the development of the credit unions and something which the government wants to put there too, and Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a piece of land otherwise too, just above where Frank Coffee Place is, where there is the old revenue office. So there are things which we can do. We just have to cooperate and be in solidarity with one another. Thank you for having me, and all the best to you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gunsa, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Even as we received a very good history lesson of cooperative as well as the South Rivers community. At this time, as we move forward a little, I just want to invite our brother Fillmore Isaacs, who is the project manager of the River-14 as well as a board member, to come at this time to bring the vote of thanks.
I would like to acknowledge Mrs. Dawn Smith, the Governor General's deputy, and the Honorable Prime Minister, and the representative of this constituency, Mr. Sheikha Haynes, representing the National Council for UNDP, Jeff, SGP, and the dignitaries from GECCU. I would also like to recognize all the other dignitaries who were invited to this session. We have come to this quiet spot, far from the madding crowd, to celebrate the opening of this facility, which, as we have heard, was born of a vision deeply grounded in the philosophy of GECCU and UNDP, Jeff SGP. The development of this site represents a faith that works. And I have been given the privilege, I would say a grand privilege, to move the vote of thanks on the behalf of the many men and women who have contributed to this effort. I do so gladly, recognizing that I have worked with, particularly, the project steering committee. And I would like to, if they would allow me to do that, for those persons who don't know them, to let them just wave. Gary Matthias was the first chairman. Harold Lewis is not here. He succeeded Gary. Andrew Lockhart represented the National Parks, Rivers, and Beaches Authority, and his immediate supervisors here, Mr. Wilson. Anthony Bowman, of whom you heard so much. Without Tony, believe you me, a lot of things would not have been done. He was GECCU's rep, succeeding Baldwin Johnny, and he is GECCU's facilities officer. Barry Williams is right there. He represented forestry. Gail Campbell is right here. He represented the South Rivers community, the youths of the community. Gauthrin Bascom, look, Gauthrin there, represented the Ministry of Agriculture. Joan Ryan, I haven't seen Joan. CWSA, she represents CWSA. And then we had Orlando Craig, look him there, tall fellow. He represented the Ministry of Health and the Environment. And Chanel Thomas was around there just now. Chanel represented this community too, both as on the women and as SOPRO. I move this vote of thanks under several headings. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for an excellent job. Well done. You kept the program flowing. I would like to thank Dan Lee and her team, who did a magnificent job in organizing for us here, the tents and all the other facilities. Dan Lee, thank you very much. Then, the Honorable Prime Minister, you were thanked before, but as usual, in your own way, bringing all the parts together and showing the way forward. We want to thank you very much for gracing us and lifting this afternoon's program by your very presence here today. We do appreciate it. And for you, Your Excellency, your name was mentioned in a different capacity than your official thing. Having consented to allow us to use this land. Could I let out a little bit of the secret? She had in mind, in fact, the first touch, she had in mind to develop a tourism facility here, something to do with tourism. And I'm hoping that what you see, we have turned it into, has not disappointed your expectation. Excellent. We have all been talking that it's teamwork, and definitely it's teamwork. So let me turn now to Tashika. She did tell you the first time when I met her. In fact, Tashika had succeeded Hayden Bilingi, who was managing the National Council for the UNDP Jeff. And Haiti was the one who put the $50,000 US for it. And then he left. And Tashika, it was the one who called me and said, I've seen this document here. What is it all about? I said, okay, we can have a meeting. She said, I would like to have the meeting on the site. And from the time she came here, she said, $50,000 is not enough. We're going to up this game. So Tashika, thank you very much for your foresight, insight, and for your enthusiasm. I go now to policy and management. For those of you who don't understand how GECCU works, it's the board of directors and the CEOs, and they have a senior management team. But the policies come from the board of directors. It so happened that your humble servant was on the board of directors, and people should know where decisions are made. Decisions are made at your board. So I'm happy that I was able to work with a board of directors who caught the vision, and we stuck to it, even though there were some hiccups, and we fulfilled the promise. So thanks to all of you. As for GECCU staff, sometimes you run into trouble when you begin to single out people. But you can't help it. All the staff supported this project. And if you didn't have the staff behind you, we would never get here. I could tell you that. But I want to talk in particular to Alicia, who is the secretary. She was the secretary to Mr. Bowman, and she's now the secretary to the new CEO. Alicia did those secretarial work without complaint. So I want to thank Alicia very much. Next to Alicia was the accounts division. Well, at one time they tell me, Brother Isaac's like, we have to get a seat for you. You become a part of the accounts staff. That's accounts staff led by Miss Johnny, Kenneth Thomas, and there are two other persons, Ricardo. No, I'm talking about who I interacted. I know Leslie was there. I'm bouncing off Leslie from time to time, but the people I interacted most on this project. And there's a young man called Ashley. Ashley. He was the one I was tormenting all the time. But he's such a quiet fellow. But meticulous. He will point out what he's supposed to do, and you have to carry this back to get it clarified. I'm happy for you, Ashley. You kept this thing, and you kept me out of trouble, too. I don't see the chairman of the supervisory committee, Sister Barbara. But I want to thank Sister Yolande Barber. Even though at times she pushed me a little bit, but I think it was in the best interest of GECCU. And that is why we have these checks and balances in the organization, so that we keep on the straight and narrow way. And I want to thank Sister Yolande Barber and her team for doing that work for me. She ensured that we executed the project according to plans. Now we come to Danley and the marketing people. Tiani, I started out with you. Took the first photographs when we did the training, etc. And then came Asif Bailey. So many of the photographs which you see here, Asif took them, and he helped to put this brochure as well together. So Asif, thank you very much. Now for the technical work. Again, you would observe what we've done. Teamwork. For heavy equipment, Roosevelt Dean from Calder, Stanley De Freitas from South Rivers, Mark Durant, I think from Calder as well. Notice how we're spreading it. Because GECCU is over St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For the buildings, Philip Alexander, he came from Sand Hill. The stone wall which you see there, we want to thank Mr. Scotland, James Scotland. He is out of Stubbs, Victoria Village, James Scotland. The refurbishing of what used to be the pack house was done by one Silroy Joseph out of Georgetown. Malcolm Jacobs did the drain and the parking area, he and his team from Bayaboo. Clean Jack did the gates, he's right here from South Rivers. Lennox Young is right here. He did the plumbing, he's from up in Lauders. Randy Clark did the signage. Randy's from where? Mespo. And then we had Newlyn Myers and Lynchford Barrow. Those two persons are from Rivers and Parks and Beaches. They came and worked here with us, and both of them are from Vermont. Kent Bacchus did the electrification for the gazebos. Kent is from Hopewell, Mespo. Douglas Kwame also did some electrical works. And I couldn't remember where Douglas Kwame is from. I also check that out. For our transport, Glamorgan. Okay, thank you very much. From Glamorgan. The transportation, we want to thank Tobo. That is Andrew Pereira from right here in South Rivers. A guy named Christopher Camplin from Diamond. And Mr. Falby from Lacroix. And I left the best for the last. Where is he? Corey. Corey, come. Corey Horn from right here in South Rivers. Corey acted as a security man, but more than a security man. Anything you ask Corey to put your hand to, and without you even asking him, he did. We never miss a nail. And that is why I've said, when we were doing this thing, people were saying, oh, South Rivers, we never missed a nail in the building of this facility here. If people wanted anything, they ask. If they ask Corey, Corey will ask me. Or Mr. Bowman. That's not Lennox Bowman, Tony Bowman. So we want to thank you, Corey, for an excellent job in keeping this. I'm coming back now to those persons who enhanced here. I nearly forgot them. The South Rivers Primary School for coming and rendering for us the cultural presentations. So South Rivers Primary School, hands up to you. Of course, you will appreciate that there are many others who I have not mentioned, who push wheelbarrows, fill the drums with water from the river, who handed blocks and stones, who mixed mortar and concrete, who varnished and painted. All sorts of tasks performed to bring this facility here. Then you hear the noise over there, I say noise, of the children enjoying themselves. A little girl, when she visited here with her mother, said, in fact, I asked her, I said, what would you like to see happen here? She said, put in a swing for children. Brother Gary Matthias, permit me to call your name, though, could donated the funds to put that swing for the children to enjoy themselves there. In closing, I'm using a quotation from Nelson Mandela, in his book, Long Walk to Freedom. I want to substitute the pronoun I, since I said this is a cooperative activity, and put we. We have walked that long road to freedom. I would say to completion. We have tried not to falter. We have made missteps along the way. But we have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. We have taken this moment today to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds us, and to look back on the distance that we have come. This facility is ours to cherish, maintain, and share. An idea in someone's head, translated on a document, but planted in concrete and wood and stone and everything else. A quiet place, a resting place, a place for all of us. We give thanks to the Almighty who has made all things possible. Thank you very much.
And with this, we have come to almost the end of our official activities for today. The final thing that we have left on the program would be the cutting of the ribbon. Unfortunately, I'm seeing the rain has started, and the ribbon is to be cut on the outside. So just bear with us for a few minutes, and we'll move on to the outside and have that done in just a little bit, okay?
ITFX.
ITFX.
Be bold.
Be loud. Go live.
Anytime, anywhere.
I've been to a place and fell in love with every moment. The sounds I heard, the touch I felt, the views I saw, the fresh flavors, the beautiful craftsmanship, the people I met, the celebration of freedom, the scenic nature. There's only one way I can describe this place, and it's by its name.
Welcome to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Welcome to my country. Welcome to our islands.
ITFX.
ITFX.
Be bold.
Be loud. Go live.
Anytime, anywhere.
Party comment?
Okay, attention please, ladies and gentlemen. At this time we would have the cutting of the ribbon, so just bear with us as we move over to the ribbon for the official cutting ceremony. So invite the media team and all those interested persons at the convenience of the Governor General and Madam President.
No.
Stop them kids. Stop them kids. Stop. Oh, God.
Sorry. Oh, they say you have to wait. They are the one that somebody else can hold. Somebody else can hold.
Space. Chris, stop them. Man. Chris, clear them.
So bring on the camera, make me a shot. It's a camera that's photo where you can move it.
It's a live camera.
Yes, boss. And you will tell me it's not good. You're shooting a cut and you don't put the camera in the shoulder, before shoulder shot.
ITFX. Be bold.
Be loud. Go live.
Anytime, anywhere.